So we're going to give some great alignment attention this morning. And to kick it all off, we're starting with the concept of Swadhyaya, self-observation. That allows us to even know, where am I in space? And if I change this little alignment, how does it affect me? Is that an improvement? Is it uncomfortable because it's not good for my body? Or is it uncomfortable because it's weird? This isn't how I usually sit, walk, stand, or even lay down. So we're starting on our back body and corpse, but I'm going to invite you to play with that alignment, taking your legs wider into a little bit of a V. And that actually allows this side body, these IT bands between the knees and the hips, to go into a semi-relaxed position. Yeah, and it's great. Some people are even already taking their hands there because touch helps us be more aware. So that's a beautiful addition to your practice. We're going to just do 3 sighing breaths here and see if we can settle our bodies and our spirits more into our mat and into the moment. Gathering a long inhale through the nose. And sighing breath through the mouth. Boy, you guys sound great. And continuing, sometimes those sighs will come out in a big whoosh, and other times just a gentle wind. Regardless of the texture of that breath wave, it does impact our nervous system, our mood, and everything else. So, sighing breath. If you find yourself in any stressful moments this week where you take a break, remember to add sighs. When you're complete with the sighs, we'll tune into our yogic breath. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. The rest of the tongue is soft. The jaw is soft, finding space between upper and lower molars. And you might add your ujjayi, great sounding breath, just contracting that throat a little bit. And lastly, one of my favorite tools for introversion, for becoming more connected and aware of our body, is turning the gaze up and in towards that third eye, right between the eyebrows and up a little. And so notice as you direct your gaze to that third eye point, if you feel any shift in tension in the eyes. There might be a little muscular effort that you become aware of. And again, a little effort, not bad, but if you sense that actually it's just a little bit kind of ouchy, at some point, just let it go. I'm going to invite you to continue your breath. Ujjayi, slow, deep, and wide. Remember last week, we worked on really slowing and deepening the breath, and I hope you'll get to take advantage today of some of that practice. Feeling it in the front body, side body, back bodies. Yeah, sounding good out there, like wind in the trees. I love it. We'll do just a couple more. See if you can notice that gap or pause that exists between the turns of the breath. When the next inhale comes, inviting you to sweep arms overhead and flex through your heels. So it's like you're making a big X with your body. And then begin rolling the ankles and wrists, flexing and pointing through hands and feet. Yeah, I hope this just feels amazing, like a little massage you're giving yourself. Lovely. And then we're going to gather ourselves up into seat pose. So as you're ready, though, bring the knees into your belly. I usually do that one at a time so it's easier on my back. And now I've got my legs parallel, feet flexed, hands on the knees, but no wings, no shrugs. So elbows in, shoulders down in the back. And I'm going to breathe big belly breaths towards the thighs. And on the exhales, of course, drawing the thighs down into the belly. If your neck is kind of fatigued or sore already today, I would just continue here. But if you'd like, you could join me in a sit-up action, which really completes the C. We're making such a tight little ball with our body on the exhale. On the inhale, releasing. Big belly and back breath. And again, exhaling belly to spine to floor. This is basically like compression exhale, right? But you're doing it in this tight little ball shape. Notice if your mind wanders, that's just the nature of our mind, by the way. And we just get more adept at calling it back to breath and body attention. Do one more, asking, is there more? If you can empty that exhale, any more. And then please plant the feet for bridge pose, anchor the upper arms, and rise up. We're gonna hold here for a few deep breaths with the hips off the floor, imagining that you have a block between the thighs, anchoring through the full footbed. And I know you can't see your feet, but with your mind's eye, see that inner line of the foot, the ball of the big toe, and then the outer line, the ball of the pinky, both sides of the heel. One more long inhale. See if you can raise your ribs higher from the floor. And then exhaling, slow descent. And we'll come into happy baby. So taking the knees as wide as you can, soles of the feet shining towards the ceiling. And you might clasp the ankles, you might clasp the big toe, the blades of the feet. You could also put a strap across the arches, and that can be marvelous if you feel like you're kind of shrugging or feeling like your tailbone's curling away off the floor. Again, no wings, no shrugs, and let's take one more huge breath into the belly, pressing it down towards the hips. Hello, hips. Great, and then I'm gonna release my elbows to the floor, just to kind of the side of my hips, right out down below the knees. I'm gonna bring my hands around the backs of the thighs, and I'm gonna begin my half straddle. So I'm letting one heel just flop towards the butt, and the other leg extending out in that half V. Yeah, and I'm just gonna go back and forth, leisurely, curious. One of the things I'd ask you to give the most attention to is that very end of your extension of the heel and leg. Check in and see if the knee is fully straight. Most of us are tight in the hamstrings, and so my guess is, like me, a lot of you will feel that actually if you give it your attention at the very end, you can get a little more length, a little more activity. Yeah, maybe that leg goes wide enough, it kind of rolls you to the side. Definitely don't resist that. It's wonderful, it's like a little spinal twist. And we're gonna guide the feet together in butterfly. So bringing the heels together at the butt. And your choice to just hang out and breathe or to add on. Add-ons could include windshield wiper, bringing one foot towards your chest or head and then the other. You could also add on a little sit-up so your head is coming towards the feet as well. Again, if you feel any stress in any joints, back off of this and anything else that might take you there. We're gonna come into bridge one more time, this time for a foot hover. So I'm gonna take my hands to my hip bones, shoulder heads in underneath me a little more, and I'm gonna lift my chin up and back so I don't feel any neck pull. And then I'm gonna imagine a block between the thighs, even though there isn't one, before I slowly lift one heel a few inches off the floor, just hovering, and then the other. Slowly, breath-filled, observing, self-observation, Swadhyaya, I love that word. And can you breathe while you're doing all this work? It's kind of intense, or it is for me. But I did 3 massages yesterday too, so I felt a lot of weird tension in my legs and hips. All right, and when that feels thoroughly complete, release. And one more time, bring knees to belly. We're coming into our baby robot. as I think of it, our little mini robot. And we're gonna do this in part to super activate the low abdomen, that area right between the hip bones, all right? So I'm gonna have you flex your feet and take the legs parallel but not touching. Anchor your low back, sort of push a scale underneath you, and then slowly take your knees away until you sense that they're directly above the hip joints. And at that point, it should actually be maintainable, breathable, but actually a pretty amazing amount of work to keep that low back rooted. Are you guys feeling that? Good, 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 good. So I want you to breathe into this dichotomy for a moment, the dichotomy of deep engagement in the belly and then zero engagement, if you can pull it off, in the neck and face. And then we're going to put our hands either on the thighs. If robot's new to you, this is really helpful because it helps you maintain awareness of where the stationary leg is. If you've kind of been doing this a while and you want to add your arm position, arms straight up, you could do that. Inhale, slow and wide. Exhale and reroot that low back, and then take one knee away from the hand just a few inches and hold for a full breath. And come back to your starting position. If you need to take a break at any point because you think something's like gonna cramp up, just let your legs get floppy and then come back in. Take your other leg a few inches away from the hand. Concentrate on those abdominal muscles. We want them engaging downward. Notice that they're kind of popping out and up. And then return to your neutral. Again, take a break anytime you need to. And then we're going to continue for a couple more rounds. Inhaling slow, deep, and wide. Exhaling, anchoring, and taking one leg away, maybe just a few inches. Maybe you take the heel even further. You keep the knee bent 90 degrees, by the way. It's just like a metal robot leg. If you're using the arm, you're taking it straight back behind you. You can relax for that inhale if you'd like. Exhale, re-engage. Take the other leg on its journey and opposite arm reaching behind. Straight elbow. If you're doing the arms, elbows are straight. We're trying to reach the wall behind us, not the floor. Beautiful. Take a little break. Deep breath or two, or you can even go into bridge pose if you need to, and then one more round. Anybody having any challenges, confusion? Yeah, by the way,
which way is the leg supposed to go? It's supposed to go forward or back?
forward, away from your hands, if you have your hands on your thighs. I, by the way, started calling this discombobulated robot when I first started teaching this. What to do. So yeah, right here's neutral, get those feet really flexed, beautiful. And then put your hands on your thighs and just with your back rooted, take one knee away from you. Yeah. And what I do is I keep my hands here so I stop, and then you return it to that starting mini.
Okay, so it's like a breath?
Yeah, for a whole breath. Yep, I call it breathing in flight. Because how many of us tend, when we're being active, to hold our breath? Anybody else have that? Yeah, beautiful. So this is a chance to retrain. You're like, I am gonna breathe into activity. Love it. Very powerful. All right, one more expression of bridge just to give a little stretch out through those hip flexors. Did you guys feel that? Low belly? Good. I hope you feel it tomorrow and the next day a little bit. Yeah, this would be a great one to redo. If you end up feeling back discomfort or pain, I would say give it a break and then keep practicing this, but more minimally. Maybe just do one round, make sure you're not taking your legs too far, all that. All right, we're gonna come into a beautiful spinal twist, I think, to kind of help release any of that low back stuff. We'll bring knees to belly, heels are flexed, legs are actively touching. I'm gonna use my left hand and guide the knees all the way to the left. I'm gonna let them anchor on the floor, knees are either hip height or higher, and then I'm gonna reach out behind me with that right arm, just luxuriating in the stretch. And then of course, bringing breath to it, and that breath should pump that back shoulder and arm. There's no stagnant in final twist. Should always be impacting us. If you like, you can always extend that top leg out into your left or waiting hand. If I do that, I usually am on my elbow then. When you're ready, we're gonna go to the other side. If your back is sensitive, it may be safer to just come into your embryo pose and kind of scooch to the other side. Otherwise, you can more actively come back to center and then use that right hand to guide the knees down to the right. Left arm reaching out behind. A reminder that having feet flexed and the thighs actively together creates a stabilizing situation for the low back that's really valuable. So give that some attention. Again, maybe you're someone who loves that extra little stretch of the leg extending. We only do this if the leg is either straight out from the body or higher towards us. We don't want to do it if we're kind of hanging out down there because it's actually going to put strain on the back. Big breath. And then whenever you're ready, we're gonna come out. I'm gonna just plant my left hand and kind of push up and come onto my hands and knees. Intelligent hands to make our way into cow-cat. Inhaling, draw the heart forward and reaching the tailbone back. And this pose will often help me feel a stretch through those same muscles we worked in robot. So if you're doing a lot of abdominal work, it can really show up in this pose. Exhale, tuck the tailbone. Inhaling, tailbone leads back, heart forward. Is there more? Remember, we are breath seekers. We'd love to feel that last bit of inhale up into the heart space. Check in with your hands. We would love to feel that the pressure is equal throughout the entire palm. And you really want to activate down through the thumb and index finger and their pads. It's actually going to help the shoulder joints. The next exhale, use that powerful core and rooting hands to send the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Heels bent, working towards the floor, hips working up and back. You might wiggle the hips a little side to side. Check and see if you can rotate your shoulder heads a little more away from the ears and down the back. So down the spine. Lovely. And pedaling and noticing, and then taking one big breath, coming up on the balls of the feet, heels raised. Exhale, powering down through both heels and holding for one full breath as you say hello to that back body. Yeah, beautiful. All right, we're coming into a little knee down, upward facing dog. And so the way you're gonna do that is just come forward like you're going to plank, and then just drop the knees, relax the feet, and then draw the heart forward. Make sure you're pushing powerfully through those arms. Exhale and press back, child's pose. We're gonna come in and out of this, back and forth. Inhaling, belly to spine, we come forward, we draw that heart forward. Neck is liberated, face soft. Exhaling, belly to spine, we press back. Couple more. You can even close your eyes, have them turned up and in, feeling this from the inside. If you're feeling the weight more in the palm where it almost connects with the wrist, your hands are probably a little too far forward. And on your next journey, shift a little bit back. See if that helps you feel stronger and more stable. All right, the next time you're moving to child's pose, let's take those knees wide and we're gonna just settle in. Let those hips move a little side to side. So if you walk your hands to the right, staying as long as you can in that left side. So I've got my arms straight, my palm is active. Your arm may or may not be on the floor. It'll just depend on the height of everything else. As you breathe, where do you notice breath stretch? And slowly to the other side. One of the questions that I've been asking myself lately as I've been trying to kind of touch base with, what can I do to feel my best, kind of energy management. One of my questions is, how does it feel to be me today? And sometimes the answer is, oh, tired or rushed or whatever. Sometimes it's contented, relaxed, grateful. So you might even ask yourself that same question. How does it feel to be me today? Breathe into it. Coming back to center. On your next exhale, a nice tuck of the tailbone, returning to your cat back. Then in cat back, take the ribs side to side. So here we are at another side body stretch, different than what you just did. You might take your head and look behind you as you're doing this. So I've got ribs to left, take my head to the right, for example. We're going to do a little shoulder exercise here. It's a kind of a tractioning practice that can really help release a lot of the musculature and the fascia through here. And this is a big part of whether our shoulders are happy and mobile or not. It's not so much in the joint unless you actually have a rotator cuff problem. So I want us to just see what you find here and how it might be different from side to side. To begin, make sure that you really are in table and that your hands are like closer to your knees. So you really want a nice kind of 90 degree. Next, make sure you're in your core. I've got a nice kind of pelvic tuck. How do you know? You might feel those low abdominal muscles we worked in robot, and you should maybe be able to clap. Yeah, nice. And we're gonna then come down onto one forearm, and I'm just making a fist with that hand. And if you can, bring that forearm a little bit towards center, not like at center, but just a little in. Then as you're ready, keeping core support, I want you to think about powering down into the floor with your forearm and drawing back towards your knees. You're not moving it, you're engaging in and back. Big inhale. Exhale, engaging and tractioning, send the hips back. So you're still very active in that arm as you're sending the hips back. Inhaling, return to that starting position, relax the tractioning. Exhaling, re-engage tractioning and take the hips back. If you are not feeling anything, try walking your elbow a little forward. It might be that you're a little too acute between the elbow and knee. Try not to clench your jaw, tongue, or tighten the neck. That can be challenging when we're focused like this and trying to create power. And when you feel ready, we'll switch. Are you guys all getting something from this? Yes? Yeah. Yeah, so some of us, people are always like, where am I supposed to be feeling it? Some people will feel it more in the arm itself moving into the shoulder. Some will feel it more in the shoulder down into the ribs. And today, after doing all that massaging I was doing, I was feeling it all the way down into my connections with my hip. I mean, just tight. But what we're doing here is creating strength and also fluidity. Sometimes our fascia, that light layer between the skin and the muscle, can get sticky. If you don't raise your arm above your head, everything will get kind of sticky and stuck. When you are complete with this, I'm going to invite you to come all the way down to your belly. If in the meantime you need to kind of do some range of motion, go for it. Otherwise, laying down on your belly, take a moment to just relax before coming into Yoga Mudra. And so in Yoga Mudra, you want to engage your pelvis towards the floor. You're intertwining the fingers behind the back if you can, and then you're straightening the arms. If you can't get the arms straight, you want to be able to hold a strap or a sock or something. And then see if you can press up off of the hips. See if you can get a little range of motion in the shoulder blades. So what's going on? What I find is if I hold those hands up off of the hips and I take a deep breath, I feel an immense stretch through the ribs. And if you roll a little, so you take your hands a little left or right of center and let the shoulders respond, and you breathe, wow. When you're complete, relax. Again, any micro movements, range of motion that you're craving. Our next movement will be here on our bellies, but if you are thinking, man, child's pose would feel great right now, then of course go there. All right, our next exploration of our shoulders, but also back strength, is bringing those arms out to a T. And this is a really interesting pose to observe the subtlety of how our body feels when we do this. First, we want to circle the shoulders until the shoulder heads are as far away from the ground as possible and as far down, like you're trying to put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. Boom. Anchor that pelvic triangle, that's pubic bone and hip bones down, boom. Then when you're ready, inhale, then extend your hands off the floor, reaching for opposite walls. If it feels good, go ahead and lift the head, getting that reach of the heart forward. Again, please notice. If you're feeling back discomfort, definitely make sure your legs are anchored. Yeah. Notice your neck. Do you feel like you've raised your head until your neck is no longer neutral? If so, kind of drop it a little bit. You're reaching forward through the crown. And as we do about 3 more breaths here, first, maybe you're feeling a burn, notice what it's like. Also, see if you can feel the breath bobbing you like an object on a wave. I hope so. Lifting and sinking, lifting and sinking. And then as you complete, once more, relax, turn your head to the side. I hope here you feel beautiful belly breath as the belly expands against the floor, into your back. All right, next, our favorite pose available to us, forearm plank. And it really is one of my favorite poses, and I know a lot of you like it too. But notice your thoughts, right? It's okay to be like, "Arr." But honestly, it's kind of amazing to notice if you're in the middle of the pose and you're thinking, oh, this is really hard, and you switch your thinking to like, dang, I'm powerful. I feel stronger when I do that. So let's give it a try. Shoulder heads down the back, and I'm gonna tuck the tailbone until I'm up off the floor with my hips. I like noticing how this feels knee down. Then I might decide, ooh, I'm gonna come onto my feet and power the thigh bones to the ceiling. Again, think about your head. There's a tendency to either drop or raise, try to be neutral. Find a softness in the face. See if you can welcome the quivering as a sign of really amazing work and all these muscles waking up. You're so strong, you really, really are. And slow release, once again, turning your head to the side. And maybe I'll turn the heat down in here just a little bit. So notice that really upped your inner furnace, right? I feel like this is so valuable in winter in particular, where it's very easy to just start feeling cold and feeling powerless against it. But most of the time, we actually just have to give it our attention and shift our internal kind of temp and metabolism. Let's come into one more round of forearm plank, and I want to give the option of raising one leg at a time. And you can either just raise it like so off the floor, or you can bring it out to the side in kind of a half frog. Then I'm bringing my knee towards my tricep and I'm holding for the whole exhale before returning. That's valuable. You'll feel some deep work in that waistline, especially if you're holding till you've got no more exhale. So you're squeezing, 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 squeezing. Is there more? Is there more? Do not let the standing leg shift. Don't let that heel rotate out. to the side, or you will be losing some of your core stability and it can really affect the low back. And we don't want that. You guys look great. Yes. All right, choice to relax and then press back downward dog, or come directly from here, take a big inhale, exhale, plant one hand, plant the other hand, and press back. You might come into some sighing breath or anything else that feels juicy to you. And then we're going to explore one round of dog series here. And this first round, we want to really give our attention to alignment so we get to know what is the right place for us today. So inhaling plank, you might think, I haven't done a chaturanga today. I'm going to do it knees down. That's probably a good choice. Exhaling chaturanga, I'm going to let my elbows shift back, like I'm trying to bring them into my ribs, and slowly lower. Inhaling cobra, and then I want you to try upward dog from here, if you want to, obviously, if you're like, no, that's not good. But just from cobra, you then anchor down through the thighs and press with the hands, and the body should kind of come up. Conversely, you can do that knee down like we did earlier. Exhaling, belly takes you back, downward facing dog. And then slowly walk those hands back to the feet into ragdoll. Honestly, one of my favorite poses. It is powerful for spine decompression. If you wag those hips a little bit, you'll not only get the hamstring portion of the stretch, but you'll get to feel some nice work there through those IT bands that we were talking about. Can you let your head go? And if it wasn't let go, did you even know that? Is it just an autopilot thing to hold our head? It is for a lot of us. So these are things we get to learn on the mat where we have nothing to pay attention to but our body, this moment, this body, this breath. On your next inhale, when it comes, hands on shin bones, extend the spine, jackknife halfway up. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone, use that low robot belly, sit into chair. We'll bob on the wave here about 3 breaths. Is there more? Being generous with those inhales. Flaring into the back body. On a long inhale, rooting through all 4 corners of the feet, rising up. Exhaling, resolving in prayer hands. Let's come into a little neck massage. We're going to take our hands and a little collar around the back of the neck. And I've just got them loosely here. I'm not intertwining or grabbing. They're just right here cupping. And that allows me to take the head around the collar. And what's wonderful, it creates all this kind of inspiration for fluidity in those occipital areas, but without any compression in the neck vertebrae, which we want to always be careful about. It's easy to compress with when we're doing any kind of head movement. Yeah, oh, and let's add a little lion stretch to that. Yeah, anybody here tend to clench their jaw when they're just stressed or, yeah. Sometimes I just do it when I'm focusing, like I'm not upset, I'm just like, Rrr. So let's get that open up. In fact, let's start with just a little touch, because when we take touch, we know more. So you're just gonna take your fingers and you can kind of run down along the temple. And then if you can, let your jaw go a little slack as you kind of pull down on it. Yeah, and whatever you're inspired to do, maybe it's some nice circles there. I can't smile and rub at the same time. Right, and then let's do lion stretch as you're ready. You can add the arms to it if you want. Nice active foot alignment. Exhaling lion, claws open, that jaw as wide as it goes. Yeah, so we do a couple more. Make this a powerhouse arm and upper back move too, kind of like pretend like you're pulling down on something heavy. Last one. Like your style. We're gonna go sideways on our mat, feet planted big, 5-pointed star, arms are active and reached out from the heart. Feet are parallel-ish. Sometimes it actually feels much better and more natural to have the toes turned out slightly. Feel free to go for that. We're gonna actually just be standing here for a few breaths. This posture is said to be able to help with mood. So I invite you to just breathe and observe what you're feeling currently and if the posture has any effect on you. Just the tip of the tongue connecting, the rest of the tongue soft. Maybe you already added a soft smile to your face. Maybe that just happened spontaneously. If not, intentionally add a very soft smile and notice how the body responds. Marvelous. Go ahead and relax those arms a moment, give them a spiral, whatever you'd like. We're gonna come into some warrior lunges. I'm gonna rotate my right knee, my right foot rather, 90 degrees, planting the ball of the big toe. Make sure that left foot is straight across, kind of 90 degrees to the side of the mat, and use that powerful back leg rooting to send the hips forward. And if you can, pulse a few times. If your knee is coming forward of the heel, you need to scooch the foot forward. So we never want that knee forward, that can put extra stress on it. Once you feel like you've got it with pose, go ahead and reach those arms out from the heart. Yeah, and then scanning, notice if that feels different. It should put less pressure. Nice. Guys look great. See if there's one more kind of wave breath that can lift and settle you. And you don't have to go deeper, but sometimes your body wants to. Good. Let's inhale and straighten the leg and sweep up like you're picking a ripe apple. And then exhaling forward, lateral stretch, so the right elbow lands on the right thigh. And I'm gonna take my left hand to my left hip bone as an awareness tool, that I wanna peel that left hip bone back so that the body is getting stacked as if between two panes of glass. And then reaching out beyond the head, just stretching and enjoying that side body. And then I'm gonna invite you to do some circling on our way to pressing to downward facing dog. And I know you'll be facing the other way, that's okay, trust me. As you're ready, rotate on the ball of that back foot, plant the hands, nice core support, lift the foot, hiya. And downward facing dog, and your choice here to simply hold and breathe, go into a resting pose, or come into flow. Flow could be full dog series or even cow cat. Inhaling plank, exhaling chaturanga. Remember, your chaturanga might be a 1-inch move. You might not do that slow lowering all the way. And maybe you don't do upward dog, you just stick with cobra. Some of you look great in cow cat, thank you. Enjoy a full breath in downward facing dog, working those heels towards the floor, from which we'll walk into ragdoll. See if you can go slow, really pressing through each hand as you move back to your ragdoll. Notice how shifting your weight a little forward and back changes the dynamics further up the leg. On a long inhale, extending halfway up. Is there more? Where do you get to feel that breath? Exhaling, tuck that tailbone to chair. Bobbing on 3 waves. Soft smile, I hope. Certainly no clenched jaw or squished tongue. If it is, soften it again. And on a long inhale, root and rise. Push the ceiling away. Exhaling, resolve in prayer hands and scan your body. Scanning the body mainly is us turning our attention in and saying, I'm interested, I want to know. Let's turn sideways on the mat again, same direction you went before. Got it. Yeah, this time, instead of doing our 5-pointed star, we're just going to be going side to side. And you might notice again that, man, I need to widen my feet out. My knees are trying to go past my feet. Or, hey, it would feel better if I turned my toes outward a little bit. Right? We always want to honor joint alignment. Maybe it would feel good to take your hands all the way to the floor and let your torso fold. You can add some nice core activity to that fold and really deepen the stretch for the inner thighs and the hips. I promise I have some hip dessert for you later. Actually, this is kind of hip dessert, if you ask me. I love it. And then if you need to, in order to come up, you can walk your feet in a little bit. You can use hands on thighs and just do a nice cat back up. And resolve into jet airplane. Palms facing forward, shoulder head sliding down, shoulder blades sliding down. Neck is liberated. I'm going to ask you to notice something in this pose. It's very common for people to jut the ribs forward. And the problem is when we do that, we come out of our core and we get back pressure. So I want you to draw those ribs back in. If you're not even sure, take your hand right here so your fingers are like right where those ribs come up and come between the breasts. That's what we're talking about. And if you engage back, away from your hands, I'm curious if you feel more power, more core presence. That's the place from which we want to do our warriors. So when you're ready, now turn your right foot so it is perpendicular with the mat. Just check it. That's now your back foot. Yep, and then turn your left foot forward. I should have had you pay attention to the back foot last time. I kind of missed it. So in theory, I want my thighs externally rotating so that this front knee is over the heel and the thigh bone is straight. Sometimes people end up with it like angled in, which we do not want. All right, and then in theory, I also want the hips to kind of open. Some people's hips won't open as wide, so don't force it. But then see if you can get your shoulders to stack. So see if you can get that right shoulder to come back. So it's like you're between two panes of glass. Yeah, you guys look amazing. And then go ahead and reach those arms out from the heart, taking your vision and head wherever you're called to. What creates ease? What creates a nice lubrication for that upper spine? And you guys all look really good in the room here. Your head is directly above your pelvis. A lot of times people in warrior kind of reach forward and that's not ideal. So this should feel powerful and peaceful. See if there's room for one or two bobbing breaths, knowing that that's all. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, I can go a little deeper. And then on an inhale, exalted warrior, reaching up, active in that front leg. Don't lock that knee. Squeeze the thigh muscles spread the bone. Beautiful, I saw that. And then slowly forward to lateral stretch, elbow to thigh. And again, I take my hand on my right hip to encourage, re-encourage that rotation, external rotation. And the top arm reaching out beyond the head, creating that side body stretch. And I did mention on the other side, my apologies, but the value of bringing the lower rib cage towards the upper. It means you're really strong. You could even lift your left elbow perhaps. Sometimes people will take both arms forward like they're holding a basketball. I can do that, but when I do that, my whole inner thigh tightens up. Yeah, exactly. All right, last opportunity to spiral out into your downward facing dog and either hold, rest, or flow. And I'll tell you, I think downward facing dog is one of the most important postures that we have to really renovate the body, the modern body. So if you're not inclined towards dog series, don't feel like you're skipping out by doing downward facing dog. Think about that anchoring of the hands, middle finger straight forward, fingers as wide as you can get them. Shoulder heads rotating open, beautiful core support, and sending those hips up and back, heels moving towards the floor. We don't care if the knees ever get straight. Okay, good. There we go, beautiful. Woo, and then coming into your resting pose, which might be child's, it might be belly, it might be ragdoll. And we're gonna settle in for a few breaths before we come into pose that requires a lot of attention. It's not physically that strenuous, but we want to be very clear and focused. Scan your child's pose. You might be like, what? I didn't know that there was a right way to do child's pose. There is. It's where you get the deepest sense of relaxation, of stretch through the hips. Beautiful. A bunch of people widen their knees out. Yeah. Where you can really feel the breath lifting and sinking you. If it's uncomfortable, like to get your head to the floor, notice that and tuck either a folded blanket or a block or something under the forehead. What's the right arm position here for you? Sometimes people practice with the arms just soft, active, alongside the body. Sometimes people even practice with the arms woven in between the knees and the head to the side. Part of the reason it's so key that we're always in a state of Swadhyaya in practice is that our body may not like the same things every time. In fact, I guarantee it won't. Just when you think you've figured it out, you're like, oh, this is my warrior pose. Well, maybe. All right, we're gonna come up to standing. And if balance is already a real challenge for you, or you're afraid of falling, you know, sometimes people have foot injuries or something that makes them like not want to have to do something suddenly. You can always do this facing a wall. It's not, by the way, a huge deal, but for some people, this balance can be challenging with this. We're doing our train tracks. And if you do this at home, I just went over this with a couple of clients this week, which is why it's super fresh on my mind, that the value, if you're doing it at home, of doing it in front of a mirror, because you'll tend to notice more of the alignment that I see when I'm scanning your bodies, okay? So you're gonna stand with your feet parallel, come towards the front of the mat, and parallel, but maybe at least 6 inches apart, because what's gonna happen is we're gonna be stepping back with one foot, and I don't want you to feel like you're on a balance beat. We're in train tracks, so two very distinct things, right? And when in doubt, we're gonna go small, and then we can always make the lunge bigger. So this is not a lunge like you might think of it, right? So you're standing there, you've got hands on hips to keep aware of your hip bones, and you're just gonna step back. Let's all go with the right foot. Step back onto the ball of the right foot. And then I want you to think about setting your heel in the track. But if that is hard, maybe even think about setting it to the outside of the track, because you're more likely to get it in the track, if that makes sense. We'll play with that. We'll be doing it a couple times. So once your foot is flat, and if you can't get your heel flat, you have to shorten your stance, okay? Once your heel's flat, I want you to look underneath and see if your foot is actually straight. And I mean completely straight, exactly. Still isn't, still got it. And you could give yourself a little more side to side distance so you're not so balance beam, that'll help. Yep, kick that heel out. Looking good, looking good. You've got it now. I know it doesn't want to stay, does it? And what happens, you've got it, is that the front foot sometimes will peel away, right? So I want everyone to focus on the ball of their big toe at the front and anchor that, and notice what that takes. Usually it's some effort from the thigh, okay? Notice as you're standing there if you're feeling anything. If you're not feeling any stretch at all, like in that back leg or calf, but it doesn't have to be extreme, but we want something. If you want more, scooch that front foot forward. You're just inchworming it. And then stand again and scan that back leg for subtle changes. And if you want to add one more thing, you can raise those arms up. And what I notice is that enhances that stretch all along the kind of IT band into hip flexor and some really subtle connection points. One more long inhale, rooting through the back heel, rising through those hands if you've done that. And then relax back to your starting pose. And if that leg that was at the back, the right one, feels a little rubbery or funky,
It does.
good, success, okay? If it doesn't, it probably means that you needed to make a deeper stance. Okay, so let's do the other side. I would bring your feet a little closer together, so more like 6 to 8 inches. Yeah, that's the minimum I would go. Good. Susan, you might widen yours just like that. Got it. All right, let's go back with the left foot. And then setting that heel down in the track. And then looking under to see, giving it any little adjustment you need to. Again, turning our attention to the front foot, ball of the big toe, anchoring. And coming upright, and notice right away, does this side feel different?
Yes, I'm off balance on the side.
Yeah. So if, not everyone's gonna have that. I was incredibly different. When I started practicing this probably about 6, 7 years ago. And when I did, I could not keep my left foot rooted at the front. And the stretch that showed up in the back leg was in 2 completely different locations. And I couldn't really kick my left foot into the track. I mean, it was almost impossible unless I shortened my stance a lot. And now they're almost even, and my whole low back has changed. It's really been profound. Let's raise those arms. Okay, go a little less wide. Perfect, that's perfect. Again, you're steering those hip bones. You want to really think about those headlights on the hip bones.
Should your knees be relaxed?
Knees are straight. Thank you for asking. Knees are straight.
But like should they be like soft? Like when
No, I mean you're engaging.
engaged.
That's a great question, and I'm not sure I have an answer. I'll also think about that.
Feels more locked on the left.
Yeah, your back leg is going to be a lot more active and locked. I think this, yes, because we are, thank you, you're helping me, you guys. You're really activating down and back through that back leg. I want that front leg active in as much as it's not wobbling all over, but you're not like, if that makes sense. All right, let's come on back. It's funny, again, I feel like, I don't know, it looks like your stance keeps getting wide, like, I'm not sure why. Start with your feet a little closer. So give it a shake out, everybody, a minute. You know how horses, it's so fun to watch them when they run and how all the muscles move and shake, right? And that's so good for us. It really helps everything rearrange, so we want to just activate that. Questions before we do another round? Okay, excellent. Hopefully by now you all learned something like what I was sharing of like, okay, wow, when my left foot's forward, it wants to peel away more than my right, blah, 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 blah. So taking those observations in, we'll start with our stance, hip bone straight forward, and we'll step back with that right foot onto the ball. I'm gonna reassess my hip bones. One way to do that is this, bring left hip bone back, right hip bone forward until you feel your inner thighs kind of click in. Does that make sense? You don't want to overdo, but it should just be like boom, and then plant that back heel, pause, check your front foot, get it nicely rooted, look underneath, adjust that back heel, come back up, scan, you're still attending to that front foot, even if you're not looking at it, scan the back leg, and see if you need to scoot your front foot a little bit more. And then you can add arms if you want. There's also a nice kind of tricep work you can do here of inhaling and reaching and exhaling and pressing and tossing back. But if adding that makes it hard for you to attend to the subtle and what's happening in your back leg, don't do it. All right, one more big inhale, pushing through that back heel, rising through your heart, and then softening back to the front. Hello, funky leg, I hope. I really want you to all have that gift. All right, we'll step back with the other foot. Again, steering hip bones, right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. Land that back heel. Again, if you've noticed like your heel's never in the track, think about laying it to the outside of the track and it might get in the track, if that makes sense. Little mind games. Again, root the front foot, look underneath and align your back foot. Return upright. Scan that back leg. Notice if you need to scooch. Add arms if you'd like. If the balance is really hard, I would just keep the hands on the hips.
I figured it out. It's the width for repulse monkey.
Repulse.
Repulse monkey is a Tai Chi.
Oh, that would make
Okay,
sense.
and that is,
That's why,
Yeah.
because that's, you've got it now.
yeah,
You know, another little detail, and again, this is what's fun, is we get to get into subtlety. I want you to notice what your toes are doing. Sometimes people's toes, when they're trying to balance, they curl them and dig down. I want you to see instead, if you can be, just like we do with intelligent hand, you can be pressing down through the, you know, all the roots of the joints and then spreading your digits. Because that actually enhances your balance. But it's funny, we have an instinct to try and hold the floor, which unless you were a monkey on a branch, it does not help, right? Go ahead, come on out, and let's come into a little rag doll. Whew. So it can be a lot in low back and sacrum, because what you're working, that line, a lot of it is actually all the way into, again, that sacral area. So the issue that I had with my one foot turning out more and not being able to root wasn't my foot. It was the alignment and strength tension quotient in the left thigh, butt, and kind of into all the connections around the sacroiliac joint. So speaking of SI joints, we're gonna kind of level them up a little bit now. Come up to standing a moment, and we're gonna just do a little bit of standing hip pump before we come down for pigeon pose and some other goodies. Standing hip pump is, at its root, a subtle movement of the hips back of neutral and squeezing forward of neutral. So you can actually do this sometimes like in line or something, like it's just really subtle or whatever. But if you want to make it bigger, you can take that butt out behind, you can go as deep as chair, and then you can squeeze forward through the glutes while you pull back through the arms. Just make sure again that you're not jutting forward through the ribs. It's a and this is a great heat builder for winter too. What I want you to feel when you're coming up, if you're doing a nice deep sit to the chair with me, when you're coming up, I want you to feel it right here. And what I think of as the elevator of your butt. It's just, it should be whoop, bringing you up. If you're not feeling that, you're probably sticking your butt out and tilting your tailbone back, what I call sassy bottom. Not good. You want that low belly, robot belly, engaged. And so when you come up, that elevator lifts you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I say a lot of weird things, and I know that, you know, words matter and they strike people different ways. So I'm always trying to find the right image. Marvelous. Get to come down for some dessert. Have a block or whatever you like to use for under your sacral triangle for our little supported pose. And you're welcome to take any of this that you want. Yeah, absolutely. As many of you know, I really recommend the value of both versions of this pose, unless your body doesn't like them. But sometimes people have just done one or gravitated to one and never really bothered to do both. The first one is with our knees bent, and that's how we get there regardless. As you bend the knees, raise the hips, and you place the object under the sacral triangle. And if it hurts, you feel any nerve pinching or whatever, adjust the block or come off completely. But it should eventually, for most of us most of the time, be able to find a location, not in the low back. It's, again, further down from there, that when you then give your weight to it, it feels like kind of a tractioning, you know, like if you were getting a massage and someone pressed away and down on the hips. And it's a lovely place to breathe and invite softening into the hip flexors and the deep abdominal psoas muscle. And then, if you'd like, you could explore the second position, draping the body long over the object. If you go to do that and your pelvis kind of dumps downward, that means the block or object needs to come down the body a little bit. You just want to feel like you are just draped equally and easily over this. And legs are relaxed here. There's no effort to maintain a foot alignment at all. If you're feeling any upper back or neck pressure, try working your shoulders in towards the spine and letting the palms rotate open to the sky. Inviting you to notice again subtlety. And I can notice subtle stretch into the deep kind of hip flexors and even abductors and so on. It feels really great, a beautiful counterbalance to sitting or doing kind of powerful work like I do when I'm doing massage, or if you've been, doing firewood, right? This is so wonderful. Everything about this pose says I am not accomplishing anything. Interested in my body, in my breath, in this moment, nothing else matters. When you choose to come off, please do so very slowly and thoughtfully. So bringing your feet flat again, ever so slowly raising the hips, removing the block to the side. Keep it within hand's reach because we're going to do one more little exercise with it. What would feel good for you as a counter pose or stretch? Are you being inspired towards anything? Please notice. Sometimes it's knees to belly, what have you. We're going to then take a hold of the blocker object and place it between the thighs. And we want to make sure, best of our ability, to have our feet right down from the knees. And I know that's hard because you can't see them, but usually you can kind of feel if you've got a funky angle or if you've got neutral. And so the feet are flat on the floor, and we're simply going to squeeze and unsqueeze the block. And I'd like you to just scan and notice what happens during that squeeze. Let's add breath to it. So inhaling and relaxing, big belly breath. Exhaling, belly towards spine. You can also engage perineum. Then the spine towards the floor. Squeeze the block and hold till the end of the exhale. Inhale and relax. Your spinal curve will return. Exhaling, belly to spine, spine to floor, perineum, squeeze block. Keep squeezing, asking, is there more? And inhaling, of course, releasing. This is to your breath timing. Let's do one more round. Are you guys feeling a little bit of those low robot belly muscles and those deep inner thigh glutes kind of contributing? Can you feel them light up here? Yes? Oh, good. This is key because these muscles are a huge part of our core and low back stability, and a really big part of our balance too. So when we're walking on slippery surfaces in winter. And then when we're complete, I'm going to release that block. I'm going to walk the soles of the feet together and invite the knees to settle into butterfly towards the floor. If this hurts, don't do it. Obviously, make adjustments. Sometimes I feel like I need to kind of tuck my tailbone and then relax into the pose if I feel a little low back pressure. And you're, of course, welcome to stay here in this wonderful and relaxed pose. I like to even bring my, again, hands open towards the ceiling, wing my shoulder blades in a little bit, and reduce any neck pressure. Then I like to add a lift of the hips to turn this into a strengthening pose. Again, you might be feeling some ignition in that same deep inner thigh glute area. Different than you did with the block squeeze, but similar vicinity. These are all really important for our pelvic floor stability, which is important for everybody, but can become more of an issue as we age. Excuse me. Good. Let's hang out here for just another breath. And then when you're ready, release the hips and then let the knees settle towards the floor one more time. And then you can just relax those legs out straight. That's usually what most of us will be craving at this point. Excellent. Last stretch to help us settle into our few minutes of Shavasana at the end. We're going to come into reclined pigeon. So I'm going to bend both knees, cross right ankle on the left thigh. You might wag that knee, whatever feels good. And then raising that left leg if you can. Hug the right knee as tight towards your right chest as you can. No wings, no shrugs. And just blossoming breath into that can be wonderful. But if I take my legs just a little to the center, I'm gonna create a really wonderful edge to give me a stretch through some of those glutes. Do you guys feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Piriformis, and glute max, and glute min, yeah, they're all like, thank you. Deep breath. Making little adjustments that make this exactly what feels delicious. That's the thing, the act of Swadhyaya, self-observation, puts us in a position to notice subtlety and to make adjustments that really transforms our practice. It not only makes it a safer practice, it makes it so much more useful and wonderful feeling. When you feel complete, we'll switch. Sometimes I need to kind of give that right leg, in this case, a little bend, straighten, kind of realign the knee and so on. Then left ankle onto right knee, maybe a little wag. Hug the left knee tight, tight, tight towards the chest. And then a little towards center. Big belly breath. Retain your focus on remaining soft in the neck and so on. This is really key. It's interesting that when our neck and stuff is tight, it's actually much harder for the rest of the body to relax because it gets the message, you know, not safe, not safe. We would love the message, I am whole, I am well, I am safe, to generate through every cell in our bodies. When you are ready to come out of your posture, please find a resting pose. It might be traditional Shavasana, corpse pose, or maybe you want to move into child's pose. And for the next few minutes, we are simply attending to the sense of breath and softening into the moment, softening into gravity. You have done really great work. Your focus has been immense. And I hope that that will actually nourish you throughout your day, that you've come into such an attunement with your body. For now, just let your body wisdom take over as it integrates everything that you have done. face, begin to scan your body. And you might have a particular kind of question that feels useful. It might just be, hey, how are you doing? One of my curiosities is, what does the body wisdom want me to know? It might have ideas about what kind of food or quantity, how much rest, how much activity. Maybe my spirit has something to say about what would bring more joy, more balance, more harmony. Often simply giving our attention and showing our desire to know will yield some insights. Feel ready to close that scan and show appreciation to the body. Might give a crisp rub of the palms together, creating your heat. It's actually turning on, you're feeling prana or life force there. And then I invite you to direct that towards yourself, either by touching the body or face directly, or remaining off anywhere from kind of 6 to 10, 12 inches, somewhere in there. You might really sense your energy body. And breathing into that space, affirming wholeness, affirming goodness, affirming peace, shanti. Yeah, you might feel a little bit of vibration in your skin of your palms, a little heat. I thank you all so much for joining me at the mat today. You were just really inspiring, and I so appreciate your time. I wish you a beautiful rest of your week. Have fun playing with some of these things. I hope you think of me, a few sore muscles here and there. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Namaste. So glad we could all be here together, have fun during this warm up. Get out and love it up, I say.
Namaste.